I didn't want to leave
Mm.
because I felt like once I had to go, then it was actually real. I felt like if I could contain it in that moment in that clinic, then it wouldn't really affect my life. But
Yep.
they were like, ma'am, you actually have to leave. Like I got escorted out by the security and in
Mm.
tears, in sobs, in hyperventilations, but I had to leave. And thus my new life began.
And then you go home or you go, what happens after that? Like, do you go and tell
um,
him, and then what is his like? What happens? What's the first thing you do after that? After you get escorted out?
that's a good question. So the first,
For me, I'm probably go get a milkshake or something. I go to the Dairy Queen. I don't know. What do you do? What happens after that?
I believe it or not, I went to the gym.
Oh,
Those were the
Bianca.
plans. Those were the plans that I had. I had my gym bag with me. I thought this was going to be a one, two, three type of situation.
What? Wait. So you got escorted out of the clinic, and then you went and worked out.
I did. And I cried in between sets and reps.
And how
I
many
did.
guys tried to talk to you in the beginning, middle of the reps?
Nah, they were like I was actually like sobbing. So
Oh
it
my
wasn't
god.
I wasn't very friendly at that moment. But to be honest with you, something that I was really like I found very interesting was that the night that I met the guy who infected me, I actually got punched in the face because I was very belligerent and what have you.
This is the
So
night that
not
you
by
met him.
him. That was the night that I met him.
Okay.
Um, he was at that time he was doing podcasts with other people. If you guys know who's the person that infected me, then you know the person that he was doing podcasts with, and whatever. They don't need any more publicity on my
Bianca,
end.
Bianca. Hold on. Wait a minute. This is new information for me.
Oh,
Wait a minute. Say
yeah.
that. Say that one more time.
Yeah, so at that time they were filming. They were filming for a show. I don't remember the name of the show, but and I don't want to. That person I don't want to bring up. I don't want to. I don't want to be on that side
We
of.
speaking in general. We speaking in general. We're not.
Mhm. I'll tell you. I'll tell you who though. I'll tell you who it was. Who this person was like affiliated with, and with the show that they were recording and filming. But anyway, it seemed to be a really good show. I used to watch it like after we started getting like after we got together. I was like, oh okay, this is what you do. This is interesting.
So
But
he was filming with the podcast. He was a part of the podcast that he was filming with.
yeah, yeah, he was part of like that group of people that did this podcast, and they had just finished filming, and
Is this new information?
yeah, yeah. I don't talk about it. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, but the people that know because they yeah, the people that know, and I'll tell you like separately, but I just don't want their names to come out of my lips at any point at all because they get rowdy, yo. They get rowdy. They get real rowdy, and I don't. I'm a classy lady. I don't want any type of smoke. But anyway, they were finished. They finished doing their podcast, and I was really drunk at that time. And I was on a date. The date went so bad. It was such a bad date, and I was so drunk. And he was like, basically, get out of my face. I never want to see you again. And I'm like, fair. And I left, but I didn't get in a cab or call an Uber. I just decided to walk and be belligerent and mad with my ego hurt and all these other things. Um, One of the guys that he was with started recording me on their phone because, you know, cloud and whatever. And um, we exchanged words and other things occurred where I ended up doing something that's totally not ladylike, and then he punched me in the face. But um,
And then
back to
he
what you,
punched you in the face.
yeah, not the guy who infected me. The guy that infected me actually was the one that ended up saving me. Like that's the first voice that I hear after I come back from like losing consciousness from being on the ground because I was drunk and then I got punched in the face.
Okay, so
And then the first
let me
voice,
put this in perspective. Let's summarize it for the audience. You
Yeah.
out with somebody else,
Mhm.
you drunk, whatever.
Yeah.
You wind up getting into it with the person, and then you wind up leaving.
Yeah. Yeah, he kicked me out. Like he was just like, I don't like basically what happened was that I started drinking whey protein. Listen, this all has to do with the gym. I started
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
I
listening.
started drinking whey protein and, and I'm lactose intolerant.
Oh my Jesus
And so
Christ.
yeah. So he took me out to Nobu
He took you out to Nobu. All right,
and I had
shout out to Nobu. Yeah,
and I
yeah.
had a very hearty meal and I double scooped that day for the first time ever. So my stomach was just like not like it was just not happening. And so yeah, like
So then you
the
leave
farts
that
were
you get kicked.
vicious.
So you get kicked out of that, and
Yeah.
then you get into it with somebody else.
Yeah. So then that's when so as I'm walking down the street, just like really embarrassed and drunk, um, there's a group of people. And in that group of people, there's two people that are like pretty important to the story. One of them being the person that punches me in the face, and then the other person being the person that saves me or like
So
helps
somebody
me
punched you in the
up.
face because you got
Yeah,
into it with them. You did something. They punched you in
yeah,
the face, and the
yeah,
person that infected you is the person
yeah,
that saved you.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that was your white knight with a dark cape
yeah.
on.
Yes, yes. It's all very ironic and it feels like a movie, but that's it's crazy. It's what it is. Yeah.
The person that infected you is the person that saved you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you go, okay, so after you leave the gym, let's jump back to real, well, not real time, but after
But
you leave
yeah.
the gym and you start to, you start to really take it in of what it is that you got to face and what you're dealing with as far as your diagnosis. And then you go and you tell him. When do you tell him?
Yeah. So basically, when I was at the clinic, they told me not to say anything yet because
Why?
they
Why?
needed to. So the reason that they said that or suggested that was because they needed to take my blood and send it to the lab to get confirmatory results.
Okay.
When a person tests positive for HIV, and when I talk about it, I usually say that was the first time I tested positive. Why? Because you have to test positive twice in order for it to be confirmed.
Mm,
Sometimes, it doesn't happen too often anymore, but sometimes people do get false positives, meaning that they test positive for HIV, but they don't have it. I
okay.
wasn't one of those people. When they started asking me questions like, have you been sick? In the last few months, I was like, oh, you don't even need to take my blood to the lab. Like this is what I have. And a
Yeah.
part of me, I'm not gonna lie, I was relieved because I thought the way that I was sick, I really thought that I was going to be receiving different kind of news, like a different type of prognosis. And so, like with like limited time left on this earth type of prognosis. And so, when I finally got the HIV diagnosis, I was like, oh well, this explains why my body was literally fighting against me tooth and nail for almost a month.
Hmm.
And so, a part of me was relieved. Anyway, so they told me wait until you get your confirmatory results before you tell your man or whatever. And mind you, they were asking for his information because they wanted to contact him and have him come in to go get tested.
Okay.
And something about the relationship that I do want you guys to understand is that I was with a narcissist. And I don't mean like I'm not exaggerating. This person was a narcissist and had psychopathic tendencies and behaviors and had multiple lives. Like I was with this person for 8 months, had the keys to his house, and I didn't even know his real first name. So it, it, and this is just like scratching the surface. There's so much more that I found out later on that I was just like, oh my gosh, like how didn't I know these things?
Hmm.
And so by the time that I had gotten diagnosed, we were already together for 5 months, and um, I was trained, I should say. Like I was already brainwashed. Um, my thoughts were in my thoughts. anymore. My actions were basically a reflection, or I basically acted on how I thought he would want me to act instead of what I actually wanted. So when the doctors were like, okay, give us his information so we can contact him, I was like, no.